Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans. Welcome to Talking in Ovals. How's everybody doing out there on this Monday, June 30th, 2025? We have episode number 147. Dave, what's going on, my brother?
It's been a weird week, because I'm off of school, so just been trying to find out, what the summer's gonna look like, trying to keep up with all these meets and just, starting something new for the summer. It's kind of exciting. We got cross country coming up. We got
Yep.
running camps coming up. It's a fun time.
It's so funny too, because as the scholastic season ends with college and high school, and that's like our flurry here in
Yeah,
the States, the pro season's just beginning. Like they
just
are
getting going.
they had a few meets, and now we're starting to see the times really come.
This,
Kishane Thompson, my God,
whoo,
Kishane Thompson. The two money events, and I know people won't like to hear this. It's the 100, it's the mile, the 15 and the mile. Those are the money events. Kishane Thompson, honestly, if he keeps on this route, he's gonna win, and it's gonna be by a lot.
you would
He's
think,
doing.
but hey,
Oh,
but we still got plenty of time.
we do.
There's some guys and girls who haven't run yet. So I think this coming Saturday is a big start of the season
Yes.
indicator. Prefontaine Classic always, there's we're going to see Shikari there. We're going to see a thing run.
Yep.
We're going to start to actually see some people
Sid
who haven't
running
run yet.
another 400 is
Sid Gump,
exciting.
yep, it's
Especially Femke with her big PR. I think it was a PR, that 49 mid that she just ran. Like it's things are heating up.
it's now we're really going to start to see. It's almost as if Grand Slam was like a completely different season as now. Like because now
Did that
we're just
actually
really good.
happen?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. It was a blip in the radar. I don't know if Grand Slam exists right now. It might be a figment of our imagination.
But I mean, you also have like Josh Hoey and the Bryce running really good eights this weekend, so it's going to be fun. I'm curious to see if America can have the same kind of stature they had last year in the Olympics. It's going to be hard to come back and do that again 1 year later, but we're going to see how it all plays out.
We will see. Wherever everybody's watching from, as always, thank you very much. Whether it is X, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Kick, not Rumble. What is that? Twitch. That's it. I get all of these stupid services confused. But wherever you're watching from, thank you. We appreciate it as always. Make sure you follow us wherever you're watching from. Give us a nice comment, like, share, follow, all that good stuff. If you're listening to this later via podcast form, first off, I apologize. I've had a sore throat the past few days, so if you hear me kind of sucking on a cough drop, it's incredibly unprofessional, but it's also why we do a podcast and we're not on the radio. So there's that. So I apologize ahead of time. But if you are listening, and you can find in your hearts to get through my unprofessionalness, please make sure you give us 5 stars. And again, leave a comment over there, and we'll try to get to it. If you leave a comment on this podcast, we will try to see it as long as it sends me a notification, and we'll try to get to it on the next episode. So there is that. I want to make an announcement that we haven't made in a while, Dave. PRs. I know y'all are running 5Ks. I know people are running 10Ks. People are still running this summer. If you have a PR in any of the events, we want to send it. We haven't done a PR announcement in what feels like forever, and I hate it. So I want anyone's PRs, whether it's running, jumping, throwing, anything. Just give us a PR. We want one. I think one of our former guests, Tanner Berg, just went out and do a big PR and won. In the hammer through 75. Yep. I forget what he threw, 75 point something, but it was really good throw.
Very good throw.
Really good throw. He's in great shape going into nationals coming into that. So we're excited for all that type of stuff. But yes, send us your PRs, otherwise I'm going to get mad at you. But last week we had a ton of fun talking to Sinclair Johnson.
Yeah, it was great.
2022 1500 meter champion for the United States, and really gearing up to get ready to attack nationals again, to make a run at Worlds, and just an all-around awesome person, a fierce competitor. Going out on her own now. I thought her story was really cool, Dave.
It was cool. And it's cool, how she is embracing this influx of all this young talent from the high school to college to all these young pros. I don't think she's ready to give up her seat at the top there. So it's again, it's going to be fun to just kind of see how everything unfolds for the rest of the season.
It will be a ton of fun. And what's also going to be a ton of fun is this show today.
Yes.
Because by chance on Instagram, scrolling through, and all of a sudden you get the sponsored ads. And most of the time you're just like, poppycock, get away from me. Stop trying to predict me, algorithm. But this time the algorithm got it right.
It did.
Because all of a sudden it popped up, and it's this new track and field news website. called the Oval Update. And in my head, I'm just like my
What?
little brain. I'm like oval and oval. Let's do this. We both like. So I reached out, and awesomely enough, they were game to come on. So let's bring him on. He is Daniel Yetman. He is the founder of the Oval Update. What's going on, my man?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. Everything's good here. As I told you before the show, I'm in Italy right now, so
Damn.
it's quite late. So if I look a little sleepy on the video for those that are watching, that's why. Or if I
Yes.
kind of just trail off and speak incoherently, that's probably why.
You'll
For
fit
those
right in
keeping
then.
For those
Perfect.
keeping score at home, it's 3 a.m. over there. So like we are incredibly gracious because
Grateful. Yes.
he told us like I stay up and do work. But yeah, your work typically is writing an article, making probably cutting some videos or editing or things like that. Not
Yeah.
having to sit in a screen and talk about track. But
But
I saw it and I know you're still in the process of really trying to grow it. And I really hope that
Yeah.
this audience,
Looks
whoever
great.
watches it here, yeah, I love the website. I love
too.
the way it's so easy to navigate. Let's just jump to it real quick because every once in a while I'm prepared, but real quick, everyone go over to the Oval Update right now. If you didn't do it, just do it now, and like it's super easy to navigate. Just right here, you have your news, all this type of stuff up here, and even on mobile, your mobile site looks really good too.
It does.
it
So
didn't until very recently. Someone told me that there was some responsiveness issues. I went through and it's still a work in progress, but it's getting there.
But
It's great.
there's so many mouths to feed and plenty of room for more people talking track and field news. So, just wanted to bring you on because we want to talk to anyone and everyone that enjoys athletics.
Yeah.
And if we could be a small part in starting to grow what you're doing there, we're excited and and happy to have another person in track and field media.
Yes.
Yeah, in the oval media.
The
Yes,
Oval Media,
Oval
yes.
Media, yep.
We're gonna be like the Oval Mafia. Like we should just if we can get like a third Oval something, we should like
Yeah.
go to meets with like shirts like the Oval trifecta, like the Triforce, like
Yeah.
from what you call it, Legends of Zelda, just with all of our brands and like the
Yeah.
corners. I don't know. I'm a nerd.
When I went to register the website, the name on YouTube, someone already had the Oval Update, and it's an inactive account, but it's for a political, the Oval
That makes sense.
office.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get them involved. We'll turn it into track/politics.
I mean,
I don't know if we want that now.
Track and politics have intertwined before, so it wouldn't be the first nor the last time.
Listen, we had talked about how much politics is in track and field that makes it harder for athletes to get paid anyway. So
True.
Yeah,
It's true.
fair
We
enough.
are big on that. So I want to go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was gonna say like not only are you doing this, but you are still an active competitor,
Yeah, so
I'm hanging on.
which is
So
incredible.
let's get into that. We're going to get into you now because our whole first segment always is talking about our guests because we are fortunate that most of our guests are still, we're runners, jumpers, throwers, things like that. So let's talk about you. When did you have the spark to just fully pursue, you're a triple jumper, you sprint. When did you have the spark to fully dedicate your life to wanting to do track and field and like dedicate yourself to it?
Yeah, I should clarify my triple jumper because I can't sprint very well.
Hey, we
That's
all
how I
know
ended up in the triple jump.
we all
I
know
love that.
what our strengths are. So that's
Yeah. Ask any of the coaches I've worked with; they'll tell you number one, sprint mechanics are the worst thing for me. But I'm from a fairly small city in Canada called Halifax. It's on the East Coast, not too far from Boston in a straight line.
We're East Coasters. We're right in Jersey. So Halifax
Yeah,
is
yeah.
on our board sometimes when
Yes.
we're like driving north. You'll see
Yeah.
Halifax with mileage next to it. So I'm not
Oh,
unfamiliar with the
that's
name.
good to hear. Most people, haven't heard about it, which is fair enough because unless you're into junior hockey, I don't know what else is what's really going on.
It's
But
true.
yeah. Anyway, so I started to sport like a lot of people that you probably had on the show, like in middle school, just through the school track league. Did every event out there the first year. I think I ran 800 for the first and last time in my life. I do remember there was one kid who was like, his strategy was like run a little, walk a little, and I think he beat me. So to put it in perspective.
So right away, it's like,
He was
okay,
just running really fast when he was actually running.
not a distance
Yeah,
runner
exactly,
at
yeah.
all. Like, okay, we got that down.
Yeah. So the way it works where I'm from is we have our it's not even the city, it's like part of the city meet, and then the next level is the regional meet, which is basically the city, and then there's the provincial meet after that.
Gotcha.
Basically a state meet. So the only one I made it to the provincial meet for was the triple jump, and I just started to develop a passion for it.
Nice.
I wasn't involved in track club or anything, so what I used to do is I would go to the local track every single day, and I would just do about, I don't know, 40 like full approach triple jumps like every single day. And like
that's
like
a lot.
It's a lot on those knees, man. It's a lot on those knees.
And my strategy was basically, watching Jonathan Edwards and the professionals, like they take really long runways. Like, so I'm there, like, a 14-year-old kid who probably hasn't even like fully hit puberty yet, doing like 21-step runways,
21-step laps.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like like the full runway, whatever I can find, like do the whole thing. So it was probably like halfway through the summer, I strained both my hamstrings and had to go to physio for about 6 months.
Doing 40 of those every day is that's but at that age, it also shows your love and your dedication for the event and for the sport.
Exactly. That's what sculpted it. And I think my first year in the event, I don't know what I jumped, like 7 meters or something. The next year I got up to about 9.5 meters. And then, the passion was there. I got into a club and started to take it a little more seriously. And then I had another personal best the next year, like training harder. I went close to 13 meters, I think. And I qualified for our under 18 nationals.
That's awesome.
So that really sculpted the passion, and went on to university, competed at university, had a lot of injury problems. Really, it was like, you can almost love something too much where you put everything into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So then I had a lot of injuries, didn't compete in my last year, and I went to South Korea to teach English for a couple of years after I graduated. Cool. So that was a cool experience. I was, I think my working schedule was 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Okay. And then I used to go at 7 p.m. I took 1 year off completely from track. I had a friend jump at the World University Games in South Korea. So I went to go watch them, and then I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like, seeing the stadium and the crowd, and kind of just fell in love with the sport again. Started training again, but because of the work schedule, I had to go, I was in Seoul, South Korea, which is a city of over 20 million people.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So it was about 80 minutes by subway to get to the track, and I left work around 7:30. I would get there around 9, and there was no lights on the track. So I don't even know if I was allowed to use that track, to be honest, but no one kicked me off. Training in the dark and just have my flashlight on the takeoff board. And then on Saturdays, I would do like the main jumping. Then came back to Canada. I did a master's degree and continued competing through my master's. And then I moved to Italy after my master's, and I've been here ever since. The pandemic was, tough for everyone, especially like involved in sports, because like
100%.
I think for many, like whether you're coaching or like whatever you're doing, like you put so much of yourself into it, and you can't do it. Like you don't know what to do with all your time, and like you feel like you're slipping back every single day.
Sure. It's interesting. I feel like distance runners really coped with it the best in a lot of ways, because there were so many places where it was like, okay, we're going to do a virtual 5K. And, that was at the point where I don't know what it was like, in the places you were, because were you in Italy during the pandemic, or were you?
Yeah, I was here in Rome. It was pretty bad in the beginning. Like we couldn't leave the building.
Yeah. So it was like, as things started to lighten up, and again, it depended in the States what state you were in, but as things started to lighten up, you saw a lot more of these like virtual 5Ks, virtual halves, virtual marathons. And it became, very connected. And I think that absolutely helped post-pandemic to keep the running boom going, like the mini running resurgence, because that was like this one thing people could do. As long as you were out on a run, the police weren't arresting you like they were doing with something. So it was like, I feel like the distance running community, and we talked to a lot of the coaches when we started the show. It wasn't too long after the pandemic, and a lot of the high school coaches we talked to said like where they thought it was going to be difficult with communication was hard, but the athletes themselves being so, itchy fingered to just go do something, they came back, and yes, it wasn't the exact training they wanted, but they weren't so far behind that, we started to see right away. Once XC and track really started to kick up, there was very little to no like regroup. Like it was like, okay, everyone, we're back. Now it's just hit training hard. We've been doing base training for our existence. Like, let's do
Yeah.
this. And I thought it was.
But if you look
it's
at some of your hurdlers and sprinters and jumpers, they were definitely more
Definitely.
effective because you have to
Yeah.
get time on the track. Like as a distance runner, you can just go run wherever you want. You could do your fartleks, you could do your tempo runs anywhere. You don't have to be on an actual track. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially if you're doing an event like pole vault or high jump, where like you
Yeah,
really need this
very
this
specific.
equipment.
Like, well, even you, like you can't triple jump unless you have an actual runway and a pit.
And I
Yeah,
think it's also difficult too because like we're runners, we're not putting our bodies onto anything, right? Like a pole vaulter is landing on a mat consistently, and then somebody else is landing on that same mat. And I'm pretty sure they weren't like really cleaning it with all like the cleaner after every jumper and a high jumper with the pit. There's no disinfectant for like the sand. So like what we knew then about COVID, as compared to what we know now, but it's like what we knew then, no one was taking that risk. So to like go and jump in a pit that can't be automatically disinfected, like
It was
again, you guys
it
are
was
throwing your
crazy, man.
bodies onto there and things like that. And
Some of those rules were crazy.
some of the stuff was insane. So I do have to ask because obviously Canada, they're your big sport over there, hockey, right? Hockey is
for
the
sure.
sport. But you guys also like your soccer, your football, you like the CFL.
It's coming along. It's coming along. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
even basketball.
really disappointing in the Gold Cup. That Gold Cup against Guatemala for Canada was terrible, those shootouts. And United States almost did it as well. So it's
basketball
not like
is producing some really good players too.
Overall,
Yeah,
is there a pressure to do certain sports in Canada? Maybe outside of hockey, like I feel like everyone, it's like, go try hockey. Okay, you can't skate, go do something else. Like, what is it like the sports landscape there in terms of, were people like okay that you were like, I don't want to do hockey, I'm going to go jump instead?
Yeah, well, I played hockey for 13 years, so
There you go.
I started when I was 4 years old.
I mean, it's not even a stereotype at this point in Canada.
Yeah. I was in Finland a couple of years ago, and they seem to have like the similar type of hockey culture as well. I felt fit right in. It was perfect.
They're right at home.
What position were you?
Kind of everything, like the youth level. You kind of like everything but goalie. Kind of thing.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to think of. I'd say like the next biggest sport is probably soccer because it's easy. Like there's not a lot of startup costs, so.
Right.
Just like your league registration fee, whatever it is, and a ball. That's basically all you need. Just
Very
it's
accessible.
like everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember for the girls, ringette was a big one, which is like I don't know how popular it is. It's like hockey, but you have like a ring instead of a puck, and your stick doesn't have a blade on it. It's just like a straight stick. Athletics. It's where I did my master's is in Western Canada in a small city called Saskatoon. And it seemed like they had more like young kids getting into these kind of camps and programs. But where I'm from, it's a pretty big landmass and only 1 million people. So it's not very densely populated. And there's like, 5 or 6 clubs around the province. But not a lot of people get into the sport until probably like grade 10, grade 11.
I mean, that's fair. Every place has their different stuff. So, I mean, Alpha Zero, I actually don't know what can you tell us what you're referencing to? Because I do want to get you in here with your comments. I appreciate them. What are you referencing to with the ball? We're I mean, the only ball we know is a shot put ball, and we're allowed to say ball because legitimate shot putters called it a ball on our show. Jordan Geist said it's a ball, and he's like, yeah, it's round.
So where does track and field fit into the landscape of sports
in Canada?
In Canada, yeah. I'm sorry. Because like you've had Donovan Bailey back in the day, like you've had really big stars. So I was just curious, like,
especially in the sprints, even now, like Andre DeGrasse,
does their stardom, like, are they stars in Canada, or is it kind of like here, where like you won't see Noah Lyles on Sports Center, or you won't see anything like track and sports Center? Like, are they like, do they get treated well in Canada if they are like Donovan Bailey or Andrew?
I'm thinking like we won the 4x1 relay at the Olympics last year, and Andre DeGrasse was already pretty famous. Like you'd see him on billboards, and it's hard for me to judge like as someone like in the track community. Is like, of course I know all these people already.
Right.
So my litmus test is like, do people who don't follow track know these people?
I try to talk about that all the time with Dave, because Dave gets so pumped about things, and I'm like, Dave, me and you are the only ones that know about it. Nobody, like, we do a awful job about getting ourselves out there to the rest of the world about what our awesome athletes do.
Yeah, it's hard when you're in that bubble. Like, you just assume everyone's in your bubble.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
But
yes, yeah.
I'll say, like, like on our sports highlights and all that, it's hockey number one, and then off season baseballs gets a fair amount of coverage with the Toronto Blue Jays. It's the only baseball team, so like there's a fair amount of
They
coverage.
took away the Expos. They
They
just
took away the Expos. Yeah,
took them away.
They suck.
yeah, yeah. I remember I've gone to their stadium a few times when they used to have a team, because my favorite team's the
Yeah.
St. Louis Cardinals.
Those
So
teams
I
were
went to go
fun,
see
man.
them in Montreal. Yeah,
Expos had some fun teams. Tim Raines and
Great
Vladdy,
players. Oh my god. They had
yeah.
awesome
They just
players.
couldn't keep them. They lost all
Pedro
the players.
Martinez.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what have been some of your favorite memories being a jumper? Like back from when you first started, what were some of your favorite memories of doing your jumping as you did in current? Because you're
Yeah.
still currently jumping. So what have been some of your best?
Yeah, honestly, like one of the ones that stands out the most isn't actually like me jumping. It's I went to the European Championships last year. They were held in Rome, and I went to watch the triple jump, and it was very lucky that I went, because two of the, I think, five longest jumps of all time
Yes.
happened at that competition.
That's so
That's awesome.
cool.
Yeah, so Pichardo, he jumped, I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, 1809, around there, and then Jordan Diaz, I think 1821, somewhere around there. So just like seeing those jumps in person, like it was like, wow, what an amazing atmosphere. And also at the same competition, I don't know if you know him, the high jump, John Marco, Tim
I know who he is.
Berry. Yeah, well, he's from Italy, jumping at home, loud Italian crowd, not exactly known to be the most quiet group of people historically. He did this when he was high jumping in the final, and I swear 20,000 people they all went quiet. Like the stadium was silent.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
He jumps, gold medal winning jump at the European Championship. The crowd just goes absolutely nuts.
That's
That was the
really
first time
great
I've been in that environment in track, where like you have that many people all taking it that seriously, and that's definitely one of my lasting.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
Because me and Dave, we're just two Americans. As someone who doesn't do feet for their measurements, is there an annoyance where so many Americans
Sure.
just do not, the meter system, we don't comprehend it well. Like for us,
Yeah.
we still do
Well,
feet. And I think part of the big issue is we don't make everyone convert it to meters in high school, which we should. I feel like
Sure.
high school America should start doing meters only for
It's just easier. It's
for the
zeros.
events.
It's like
I mean, here's the thing. I will argue meters is not easier. Meters, I think, is harder. In the end, I think feet and inches are a little bit easier because there's less, right? Like with meters, it's all very big. Like they're smaller numbers, but there's point whatever. If you grow up with it, it's real easy to understand because the conversions are there.
Yeah.
But again, is there does anybody outside of America think every once in a while, should we potentially convert this to feet so the idiot Americans can figure it out? Or is it like, screw them, this is track and field, figure out meters on your own, you have Google?
the latter.
I think it's basically that. Yeah. It's like, I've competed in, like, I go down to the Boston University meets the last 4 years I've been down there and jumped.
They're so good.
Yeah, they're so great. They're so great for jumping too, because that track is so bouncy.
They're great for everything.
I love it there. Yeah, I know the distance guys, they like it there too. Anyway, like the boards for triple jump are always in feet, and like the other guys are asking me like what boards they are.
Like the 32, 36, 40.
We get the revenge there,
Yeah,
damn
I
it.
know.
We get the revenge.
Yeah, whatever the farthest one is, like it's 12 and a half meters. I don't know what
It's
that is.
usually and high school. It's usually 36, but they will have some places that have a 40 board too, 40 feet.
Yeah,
But I'm not sure.
okay.
Pro level, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, yeah. So and I remember in high school going down to Florida and jumping there, and we all had calculators, so we could convert. I had a huge long jump PB. I think my PB was one year was like a little over 6 meters. I think I jumped 6.5 meters, and I was like, I think that was a good jump, but like I don't know how good it was or how happy I should be.
It's funny because I think that's something we're going to start pushing for on this show. Is that at high school in America, it should just be meters. We should start there and make it so in college as well. Because then by the time they get there, there is no learning curve, right?
Well,
Because when you get to a pro, we heard all of our throwing
Sure.
pros. They speak in meters. They don't speak in feet. They don't care because everything they do is in meters. So
There's
it would make sense
I'll
for
give
the
it to you
sport.
that I think the mile is a better event than the 1500. To me,
Yeah.
it just makes more sense. You know,
I just don't know.
even.
Well, I just never understood why they didn't go 1600. It's easy 4 laps. Why they
Yeah.
went to the 15, and it's closer to the mile, and it's just 4 laps. It's not 100 meters. I
Because the
never
metric
understood.
system does not do anything besides 5 and 10. And I give them credit for being rigid because us as Americans were rigid too, right? It's like, no, you're going to do what we say. But we did win that battle where it's like, no, you run our mile. Like,
Yeah,
and that's
I
like
mean,
the
I'll sign that.
premier.
I'll sign that petition. Like even at the Golden Gala here in Rome, the Diamond League event, they ran the mile.
Mile,
So
yeah.
I think they did at that one. Yeah. So you know, I think other people would get on board too.
Yeah.
But I think miles universally understood at this point because of the, the importance
Sure.
that it's had, especially in, at least in the world of track and field, the importance of breaking a 4-minute mile became so big that I really think that it's a universal thing. So there is no controversy there. Like no one even, I don't think anyone even imagines like, oh, the mile's an American thing. It's like, no, the mile's a track thing. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think anyone looks at that as like
They
American.
associate it with Roger Bannister, you know, breaking the 4-minute mile.
And
So
yep.
yeah,
England.
People forget about the battle that was going on between like the United States and Britain and a few others to get to
Australia.
that point. There
Yeah.
were so many
yeah.
people that were right there, 4 flat, 401, right on that precipice. And Bannister and his other 2 pacers too, because you can't forget about them, right?
Yeah.
They were legends and they helped it there. It's awesome. Britain won that battle. We'll have many more.
I mean, I feel like the United States, you've won quite a few of the battles since then. So you kind of got to leave some for the rest of the world, you know.
We'll be nice to our Western friends, okay? Everyone else,
Yeah.
no.
I mean, we had the 4x1. Like we'll sit on that for the 4 years. And you won't hear the
Heck
end
yeah,
of it. But,
absolutely.
I mean, we can't pass a baton. So you guys know that at least every so Worlds or Olympics, it's wide open because the
we might
Jamaicans
have the
might
4
win
best
it.
people.
The Jamaicans might win it because the Jamaicans are good. Americans, will at least once out of every 2 or 3 Worlds and Olympics, we'll drop the baton in the prelims. We won't even get to the finals. It's so annoying.
Well, like from an outsider, like I don't follow the American relay teams that closely. I just know
Right.
Carl Lewis has been critical of like. I don't think they do a lot a lot of work together. I think
That's the
they're very
issue.
much like
They all have
they're
different
world-class.
sponsors, and they're all like it's just that they have such a hard time getting them all together and training because this guy runs for Adidas or this guy runs for Nike and the actual camp, not everyone goes. Whereas I feel like other countries, like it's such an honor to be invited to the Olympic camp and to go. But here, so many athletes are just like they don't want to leave their actual coach. So it's definitely whole point has to be like they don't get enough time to work together.
Yeah, that's the impression I get. And also like at least for Canada, like the 4 guys that won the gold at the Olympics last year, like they've been together basically the same group like
Sure.
3 Olympic cycles, at least
Yeah.
3 of the 4 of them, and they seem like they're really close friends, and they're like they seem like buddy all the time. Versus the impression I get more with the American sprinters is they're more like there's a rivalries, there's like
There is.
it's going back and forth.
And like I'm sure like Canada, I'm not sure, but did they have the same 4 guys run in the trials as they did in the finals?
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
that
That's
helps
the issue.
like
The
we
depth.
have 6, 7 guys, so we're like, oh, you run the trials, you run second leg, and then but in the finals, then we're going to switch you to the third leg. So it's that continuity just doesn't seem to be there year in and year. And now it seems better on the girls' side. They had issues, but they seem more willing to get together and to make it work. So we guess it happens because I mean we definitely should win or be up there almost every year, but kudos to the other teams who take it a lot more seriously.
Because your death pool is so much higher than basically any other country.
Our
Like
gift and our curse.
I don't
high
even
school
want to
kids
know.
run it. No, I mean we have
like sub 10.
Yeah, and high school, but like if we took our 4 best high school kids, we would probably finish second or third. But again, the best, the whole relay is getting the baton around. It's not always about who's the fastest, who's the smoothest.
Yeah,
I just
you
wanna
can get
do
away
a-
with it in the 4x4 a little more because it's coming
Absolutely.
in slower. But that 4x1.
I want to do a quick aside, and I just want to say, Alpha Zero, I now appreciate what you're doing. I still have no idea what it is, but that story you're telling over there in the comments, if you could do it the whole episode, I invite you every single time. That's fantastic.
I was going to call that. I saw the Roman imagery in his story. And I was thinking,
I don't know what the reference is to what we're talking
I'm here
about.
for it now. I'm here.
But during the pandemic, before the track was opened up, and you could only train in the parks, I was training in Circo Massimo, which is right next to the Coliseum. It's the
That's cool.
old Roman chariot track. So I was doing like triple jumps in there and like my bounding drills in the Circo Massimo. So that was kind of cool.
That's
That
really cool.
It's really freaking cool. So I want to get to your newest escapade,
Yeah.
the Oval update. So, one thing that we complain about all the time is there's not enough publicity for our great athletes, our great sport. Now, we obviously, Flow Track has been the premier for like videos, right? Sidious Mag, I think, has done a very good job in terms of what they've done.
Yeah, they had really good coverage of the high school championships.
Really good coverage. Obviously, Let's Run. We have our buddy Jonathan Galt is over there. He's one of the better reporters, I think, in the sport.
Yeah.
But it's still tough. There's still voids that needed to be filled. What was your reasoning for starting the Oval update?
Yeah, kind of what you're saying. There's so many talented athletes, and they really don't get the exposure that they deserve. So, like, I think Noah Lyles, I think he has about 1.1 million followers on his Instagram, and I think Fred Curley is 1.2, and some of the girls I think maybe are above that. But like if you look at like top players in the NFL or like top players in soccer, like what are they at? Like 100 million?
It's insane.
You look
Yeah,
at
like-
bottom players have more than the top
Yeah.
players in track have,
Exactly. I mean, you're talking like, okay, there's like every few years you have a Usain Bolt, but how many Usain Bolts are there? But like I went to
Real
when-
quick, let's play the Price is Right game. I don't know if any of you know this. Guess how many followers Ryan Krauser has on X?
I'm going to say 500,000.
Okay, what do you think, Daniel?
I'm not that active on X. I don't have a frame of reference. I'm going to go 300,000.
10.3 thousand.
10.3. Okay.
And again, I know the youths don't use X very much anymore, but X is still a major platform for getting the word out there and things like that. I just wanted to look that up, and I want to do a quick search on the Instagram side because I think this is going to what you are talking about. So
Yeah,
Instagram.
actually, kind of building on that is for the website. I'm researching different athletes and writing pages for them. So I'm using like some search engine optimization tools to kind of see how many hits are people getting, and it's kind of the usual suspects. Like it's like Noah Lyles, Shaw Kerry Richardson, but then it drops off quick. Like they're getting like 500,000 searches a month, but then it quickly drops down to like 2,000.
And the ones that get it are the ones that have some sort of controversy,
Exactly.
right? Like in the track, like Sha'Carri obviously had the controversy with her smoking some pot before the trials. Like
So
that
did
was
Freddie Curley.
And Curley with his the police things, and Noah just kind of brings it on himself with his bravado, which is fine. I like Noah Lyles.
What kind of numbers Faith did this past week? With all the attention going for the sub 4, I wonder if like her.
I don't know. I haven't checked since then, but I did see. Like I can see like which things on the website are coming up on Google, and the articles about her did spike quite a bit. So I think it seems to be after like a particularly big performance, you'll have like almost like 0 searches for an athlete, and then boom, it'll go up all of a sudden, and then it goes back down.
Right. There's not that sustainability that we would like to see that you have in other sports.
Except for a few, like you're saying, the ones that have controversy.
Sydney probably too, just because she's just so.
Yeah.
I mean, Sid's next level. So I mean, that's as good of a reason as any. So what have you found? Obviously the website's fairly new, but like I said, it looks great. It has a ton of content already. I think that's awesome. What have been some of your biggest hurdles? And like, as I put on our little run sheet, pun intended, because I'm a loser, but what have been some of your biggest hurdles to getting the site going and trying to get the content out there and things like that?
Well, when I first started, like my background's in writing, mostly a freelance writer as my profession. So I'm like, oh yeah, like writing. I'll build up like the articles, and I'll write them myself, and then I'll get other people involved, and we'll build up an editorial team. And I started getting in it. I'm like, oh yeah, people don't like read that much anymore. So now I'm very quickly realizing it's video, like the reels and Instagram, like shifting the attention more towards the video side, and the next thing we'll probably try to build up is YouTube. And I'm going to Germany in like a few weeks to go to the World University Games, so I'm hoping to get quite a few athlete interviews and
Yeah,
got to get on TikTok too.
we had Gordon Mack on, who does
Yes.
track all access, and he's all video.
Yeah.
It's all video. He said, like people just don't want to read; they would rather just see these workouts and hear people talk about it rather than just actually reading an article. Which I don't know. I mean, I still like reading things and doing research and stuff, but I guess we're at that age now where people just don't have the time, or they don't think that they have the actual time to sit down and just read.
I feel like they're good as
information overload. I think too. Where this Instagram, how much stuff like pops up on your feed every minute.
I feel like they're good to accompany each other, right? I feel like you can have the video, but also I'm the type of person that if there's an article with the video, the
Yes.
article always has a little more, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I will go in there because I also, when something is said to me, right? Like when you talk about someone's stats, what they ran, what they did, I have a lizard brain. I have to go and read it and go and like when I see the number, it kind of stays in my brain a little bit more. So I feel like it's extra work for you. And I truly hope you get a team together that could work with you and do all this stuff. But I think that, that could be a good model too, especially because you're trying to stick to more of the news side and things like that. To have both working together because you have boomers like Dave and I that still like to read things. And then, you have your younger kids that,
don't want to read anything.
But they will though at some point because I think there is a push for kids to start reading novels again. Like again, I work with kids. I'm with kids every single day as a driving instructor. That's what I do on my 9 to 5. And so are you. And a lot more kids I have found are picking up novels outside of their required reading in the school because nobody likes that.
True.
But they are starting to pick up novels again and having physical materials becoming a big thing again outside of digital. So I do think that we'll have a shift. I don't think the long form is going to be good, but I do think like the informational piece, I think will still have its place.
So with all these meets going on every week, how do you know which meets to cover and which meets not to cover? Do you have to look ahead and be like, all right, well, this meet has these athletes here, so maybe that's the best. Like there's so many meets going on every single week. And if you don't get to a meet, what's your way of finding out the information? Do you watch them online or do you just go through all the results? Like what is your way of, because I find it hard, with having a actual job too, another job, to keep myself informed with everything that's going on. You have this meet here, this meet here, and then you have all these one-off meets. So, they're just running 10Ks here. They're just running miles here. So you have all these meets. How do you keep yourself up to date with everything that is going on?
It's tough. I put that into the challenges category since we're still on that. Like, I'll give you kind of a for instance. I was at it's a street jumping competition in Slovakia every year called the JBL Jump Fest, and I don't know. There's an Instagram account called Jumpers World, and they're pretty big. They have I think 700,000 followers.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we follow them.
Yeah. Anyway, the guy that runs the account was there competing.
Nice.
And I went up to him. I said, "Oh, hi!" Like I introduced myself, and I said, "I got a good video of the winning jump, 8-meter long jump." And he said, "Great, like send it to us." I was like, "Okay, perfect." So I leave the track and I stop by the grocery store and I just get like a cold drink or something, and then I go back to the hotel. By the time I got back to the hotel, they had the video up on the channel already. The meet director actually was the one that sent it to them and got it up. So I realized like you got to get stuff out quick. Like I'm there, like I was doing meet photos, and I'm like, by the time I get them on my computer, someone already has it on Instagram. So now I know I need to get it like on the phone, like from the camera to the phone on site up. And then kind of more to answer your question, you're saying like there's so many meets happening at the same time. Kind of what I realized is like now where it's a very small project, like hopefully it will grow and we can cover multiple things at the same time. But you just got to pick and choose. Like
sure.
There's a lot of accounts on Instagram, like, offering results and like these type of things. So even at one competition, you can't cover all the events. Like if you're shooting like the long jump and then the 100's happening on the backside of the track and you have to run across and then you want to get an interview from someone. So you have like a run to the mixed media zone. Like, like even at one meet, like you could have 50 accounts, like all sharing the coverage. Probably
we have to get Daniel some interns. Daniel needs interns with track experience to help him.
Definitely, like I'm been targeting mostly like American audience because like it's the largest English speaking country and track is, I think you've dominated the medal count last year by quite a bit.
We did with that and also Worlds 2 years before that. We've actually been on a tear as Team USA, which is fun for us, right? Like we've been on a good tear in every facet. Like distance has finally caught up, and mid distance has caught up to our sprints, and our throwers have been pretty dominant for the last few years. And men's and women's side has been really nice to see.
Yeah.
So
So I'm
do you
hoping to get
find
down there and cover more of your
yeah,
meets next year.
do you
Nice.
find being over in Europe, I was to kind of play off that, has given you more access? Because like I feel like there's so many more. It's just
A
a
better
lot.
culture.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
word there. I'm looking for.
Better
Just
culture for track.
like everyone's more into it. Like fans are way more knowledgeable. Everyone seems to kind of know what's going on. Whereas like we had someone here when during the Penn relays, like they didn't even know that the meet was taking place in Philly, and he's a Philadelphia
Mhm.
resident. Like I
Yeah,
feel like over there,
we had a guy live on the ground. We were interviewing a writer for New Jersey, his new mile split New Jersey writer,
Yeah.
and he's a madman. And he was like walking around the street. He locked himself out of the hotel that all the mile split writers were at, so he's doing street interviews while talking to us on the show. It was actually hilarious.
but
But
the point is like this guy in the city, Philly, they have it every year. He had no idea that the meet was even going on. I feel like over in Europe, there's a much more educated fan base. Well, maybe not much more educated, but there's a lot more of them who are into the actual sport.
Yeah. I guess like for starters, I think Europe, I think the population is about 3 times that of America. So you have more people to start with. Definitely, it's bigger here. That's one thing I really like.
yeah,
It is bigger here. And even myself as like an athlete who's like, jumping a little too far just for like these local meets, but not quite far enough to get into like big internationals. I can
yeah,
find like these like smaller international meets. Like I just went down to Malta. That was a lot of fun.
that's
A couple
awesome.
guys went over 16, and I was in Belgium. I might go to Belgium again in a couple of weeks and be competitive with 14 and a half meters, whatever. Um, and people stick with it. At least where I'm from in Canada, is like you do your high school track, you do your university track, and then you're done. Like
Oh yeah,
basically, no one can, unless you're already like at that level where you're like Olympic medal
sure.
contention.
Yep.
But more people here in Europe, they seem to stick with the sport or do sport for the sake of doing sport.
Now,
Uh,
are you doing coverage for your website while you're also competing in the same meets? And if so, how is that?
yeah, I did that in Slovakia, the JBL Jump Fest. They had 2 categories. They had an open category, and then they had a World Athletics Silver Tour category. So I went the night before, and I did the open long jump, and then I jumped the next morning, and then I went back to the hotel, regrouped, and came back and did the World Athletics Silver Tour event, and then the next day they had the World Silver High Jump. At
You're
our
a
Canadian
madman.
Championships, I'll be doing the same thing. World University Games, luckily, I'm not competing, so I'll just be there. Like I'm hoping in about 3 or 4 days, depending. Um, a few smaller meets I've jumped at in Belgium. I've done usually what I'll do is compete first, and then if there's events after, I'll do the photo and video, and it's nice. I got to meet a lot of meet directors, and like everyone's
Yeah.
always appreciative that you're
Yeah,
offering them coverage. And
those are the
getting to
guys
meet a lot of people.
to meet, because those are the guys that if you build a positive relationship with them now, then they can help you out later on
Yeah,
as
exactly. Even
as you
like
get bigger. Yep.
yeah, even at the Slovakian one, like I met the meet director and the guy that's in charge of the socials. So I interviewed both of them, and then actually tomorrow I'm going to publish an article, like a feature article on it. So just building those connections, and like if there's an athlete in Slovakia that has a big performance, I can like now message them like, hey, can you get me in touch with this
Which
person?
is great.
Yeah.
So, is there a language barrier you find as you're competing in these other meets in Europe, or does mostly everybody there speak English? Is that a very common language, or are you fluent in other languages as you're over there?
Yeah, it's usually you get by in English, or like I often go to the Netherlands for jumps, so basically everyone there speaks English, and even the Dutch is like, close enough. You get it, In Canada,
It's English with a really hard accent.
yeah, in Canada we learned French like growing up, so I can
Yeah.
piece it together enough to understand the basics, and Italian like enough now to get by at least. But like most countries, like especially most of the smaller countries, I think as a general rule of thumb, the smaller the country, the more likely they are to speak English, because they need to learn foreign languages more.
Sure.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's kind of your goal here? Like where do you see this website going? From here, are you looking to get really big? Are you looking just to kind of maintain what you can do? I mean, you definitely
Yeah.
mentioned that you're looking to get some help. Like, what are your kind of end goals for this Oval Update?
Yeah, I mean, in the short term, I'd like to build it at least enough where I can focus on it exclusively and not have to do like other writing and projects on the side. Um, One of the first things I want to do is start hiring other writers, probably like one-off articles, because um, the business is registered in Europe, so legally I can only hire staff from the country where it's registered.
That's
So
interesting.
Yeah.
yeah, so it makes most sense to have freelancers. I can have freelancers from anywhere,
Sure.
and also
Mm,
like let's say for
yeah.
editorial, then I can get voices from many different people, and like a lot of people have things to say and like interesting things to say. Versus if I had a staff writer, it's
So
the same voice.
so if it's freelance, they could be from anywhere in the world, but if you hire some of your staff, they have to be from the country that the LLC is registered in.
Yeah, which is
Okay,
Estonia. Yeah,
gotcha.
So is that like I guess can you like contract a freelancer to write a certain number of articles without it just being one
yeah,
off?
for
So
sure.
you can have somebody there be like, "Hey, I want to contract you for X number of meets to give me an article
Yeah,
for
yeah,
each of these meets." Like, so that does help too because you can hire
yeah.
somebody for like, "Okay, you're here with me for 6 months. Give me these meets. Send them my way." That's at least that's beneficial that they're not like one contract at a time because
Yeah,
that would be so annoying.
Yeah,
at least in the beginning, at least I'm thinking like opinion style articles.
Yeah.
sure.
Just putting like I know the jumps, I know the short sprints, but I'm weak in long distance. I'm weak in
I'll
the
write some for
throws.
you. I'll send some your way. Let's do it.
Let's get it. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, listen, I started off writing sports for a little bit. I wrote on a basketball blog for
Yeah, that'd
Fansided
be
for a
great.
little bit.
I
So
think
maybe
you're a long distance guy, middle
middle
distance.
distance, long distance. But honestly, doing this show, like Dave and I have
Okay.
gotten versed in so many more things
Yes,
than, but
because we have to
it
be.
helped. It helped that Dave coaches at the high school level. I coached collegiately with the sprinters and a little middle distance guy. And, in high school, I coached, I coached back there as well as being a runner. So I have a little versatility, but my expertise is 100% in the middle
Yeah.
distance, longer stuff.
Well, I'll be
That
in
would
touch.
be
That'd be great. We have we're getting our bank account set up later this week, so we'll be all set to hire on some freelancers.
love it. Love it. So, here's another question. How can we help? What can we do
Yeah,
to
not just us,
expand?
but the attract community.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking, well, we'll do both. Us,
Yes. Okay.
particularly as a show, what do you want us to do for you? Because, I've always gone by a philosophy. I've been podcasting for a little while. And in media in general, there are so many mouths to feed. We're not actually competing with each other.
Yeah,
We are, just because, even if you guys start your own podcast, if the Oval Update starts its own podcast,
Yeah.
we're not competing. We, people can watch and do multiple things.
Sure.
So, what can we do as a podcast for you? How can we help you? And also, like Dave said, what would you like the track community to do for you as well in terms of getting out there?
yeah. Well, I mean, for you guys, I really appreciate you inviting me on for starters. This
Hell
is,
yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
a writer. I'm so used to writing that like it's a bit of a new experience for me. Actually, one thing I was kind of nervous about coming in is like I write about all these athletes, but then I actually have to say their names out loud. Like,
Oh my
is,
God, it's so
you
hard.
know,
And one thing that you'll
I
find
leave
out,
that to Alex. I say,
and
Alex,
how
you are handling
often
all the
do
names.
I screw it up?
You're
yeah,
like, guys, I'm sorry.
I apologize. Listen, if I
Yeah,
don't know how to
listen.
say a name, like, and like,
But here's what I think. I think most people would rather hear their name even said wrong than not hear their name at all.
yeah.
I'm
Fair enough.
open for the correction, but I am only but a Northeastern speaking American man. I will say things as I say them. So
Yeah. Even for me, if I can't like picture how it's spelled in my head, I'll just forget like how the second half of whatever the name is. But
that's awesome.
I guess to answer your question, like I appreciate you inviting me on. So like
Of course.
that's already great. And
Yeah.
like we're saying, like I want to get voices from a lot of people, a lot of perspectives, because like even just in the month and a half that this project has been going on, is like I've had so many people reaching out to me saying that they want to be involved. So like
That's
uh,
fantastic.
a lot of people told me like you should do it, focus on hockey. Like there's more money in hockey, like you can get. But I'm like no, like the people like track, and there's a
Yeah.
huge
Yes, we do.
there's not that much media coverage for track. Like
No,
so, I think it's very
and it's like
underrepresented.
And it's all
it's like
paywall. The media coverage that's
it's all
worth
paywall.
watching, or most of it's paywalled.
Yeah, and that's
And
one thing I never want to do. I don't want to put anything behind a paywall because it's
Okay.
already a bit of a niche sport. We start putting up like pay barriers.
Well,
So
here's
I
go
know
ahead, Dave.
here in the States, it's hard to find where these meets are. Like, like if you don't have Flow Track or Runner Space, like you're gonna miss most of the meets. Like everything is paid for. There's not many meets that are free on TV, and if they are, you got to find them. And that's the other thing. I'm not sure how it is over in Europe, but here it's very hard to find all these different meets. And so in Europe, I'm hoping that that track is on TV just like it would be any other sport.
Yeah, at this where I live now, I don't have cable TV, but there's like I don't in Canada it's CBC, like whatever the national broadcaster is,
Sure.
they have a streaming service, so
Yeah.
they have a lot of coverage on the streaming service. And
That's
when I did have
fantastic.
cable TV, like you could find a lot of Italian meets like on the national TV, so they definitely do get a lot more coverage here.
And the one philosophy I have, and listen, I don't knock Runner Space, Flow Track. They do what they got to do, right? With their business model, they perceive as work, and it is working. They're making money, right? But for me, if your media is good enough and you're good at what you do, then you can go get a big sponsors, right? The
Yeah,
sponsors will come. If the hits are there, the sponsors will come. And then you can have a subscription tier to do extras, right? Like that's always been my thing. Like
yeah,
the fact that, like you said, it's a niche sport and now I have to pay in order to go watch a track meet. Like
yeah.
that drives me up a wall.
It seems backwards. Like I know a lot of photographers in Canada as well who are doing track. Like they're trying to get the athletes to pay for photos, but I'm like most of the athletes are students. You're trying to get like students to pay for photos.
It's
I'm
not gonna
like
happen.
So
I
don't
think
make
it should
any
you
money.
got to get the money from someone else, like the university or
Sure.
somewhere else.
Absolutely.
So that's my like when I go to cover a meet, I
It's
don't
not
charge the
the
athletes.
kids' responsibility to get their name out there. That's the media's job.
They just want the photo, like they just
Sure.
want the photos of themselves, or like if the mom or someone in the family wants the photos, like I'm not going to charge them for those.
Absolutely.
But I understand, like like everyone has to make money. Like if you're a full-time photographer, you got to make money. But in my opinion, like try to get the money from like the
Sell it to the
university. Or,
university. Yeah.
exactly.
Sell it to
Or
the
you can sell
university.
prints, like you could do like you can have
Yeah.
the digital for free or the prints, something like that.
And that would make more sense. Yeah.
But sorry, like you were saying how we're like we're not competition and this type of thing. I had this exact conversation with another guy in Malta who has another Instagram account that does something similar.
Cool.
I'm like the two of us are at this competition, like we're getting like like 10% of the content that we could. So like the way I see it is like you're trying to get money from outside of track and bring it into track. That's what we're all trying to do. And if
Sure.
track gets more exposure, we all
100%.
we all get a
It's
bigger
that simple.
piece of the pie.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
that
there's
simple.
no reason that we can't work together, right?
Exactly.
And grow. And it's like, like throw a shout out to each other and things like that. And listen, I get the business side of things. You want to make money, you want to keep there, but at the same time, like you said, this is such a small piece of the pie where
Yeah.
we have in the sports world that we have to grow and compete first. And then we can all get at each other's throats when all of our pockets are lined, then let's battle. But let's wait till all of our pockets are lined first.
Well,
Okay.
like when we're on our yachts, we'll be
Yes.
like have a little
We'll
fight on the.
do bumper yachts. But so let's talk about some track topics here,
Yeah.
which is fun because on this show, we typically don't get in like the track nitty gritty news. We mostly like to get talk about the person's stories and maybe some topics that are super important to them. But fortunately, the important topics to you is track news. Yay! So I want to get your opinion first on everything about Faith Kipyegon's 4-minute mile attempt.
Yeah.
Break it down. How did you feel about the pomp and circumstance? What Nike and Amazon Prime had it on, and how they did, and then Faith's effort and everything that went involved with it.
Yeah. Like I'm a big fan of these exhibition type events.
Me
because
too. I love them.
Yeah, they're fun to
Need
watch,
more.
and like it's exciting. Like and you can build up like I didn't see too much. I wasn't really watching like the media side of things too much. I did see the race just on YouTube. I think on the World Athletics account or whoever had it.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully they had like a lot of build up. I just see on the Nike
did.
website they had
It did.
promo stuff.
They had a lot of stuff for it.
I
So
enjoyed
think
it.
they should, yeah, and I think they should do more of it, like the sub and like these nice round barriers for even if you're not a track fan. I think 4 minutes barrier or like 2-hour marathon barrier. Nice simple numbers.
Sure.
Um,
I thought it was I actually really liked it. The only thing I didn't like, which Alex said to me, was that there were too many pacers that didn't really have a purpose. I guess they were there to block wind, like that they had it all figured out like, in a certain formation. But when you're running a race, no one's going to stand in the exact spot that to be in. So
I'm going to also be mean. The two women didn't have a purpose that ran with her.
no,
I'm sorry.
they didn't really do much.
They never got in front of her. They sat behind her. They didn't push her. And both of those women are incredibly talented. We just talked about how the Brits don't have bad races. I think it was Georgia Bell and Gemma Ricci, who are both incredibly talented, but they just sat back and ran a 2-minute 800 and came off and didn't even, for me, they weren't a factor. So, I mean, I might be a little bit of the Debbie Downer here. And one of the things that I'm going to hope that you do as someone that covers track is, I think we're too damn rose colored in track and field. We try so hard to never throw shade at our sport because we feel like if we throw shade at our sport, then no one's going to watch. Our biggest issue is no one in America watches anyway. So when it comes to this, the pomp and circumstance was good. The build-up was good. The commentary was a little bit cheesy and a little bit too much. I thought it was way too much where Carl Lewis was lying the whole time saying she's going to get it. Carl knew she wasn't going to get 4 minutes, okay? Everyone that ran track or knows track knows you don't go from 407 to 359. And if you do, they better stick a needle in you and test your blood right away, okay? So with that, I don't mind the effort. I thought it was awesome. Faith Kipyegon is the monster of our time, right?
She's a rock star.
She's amazing. But I think for people to say she just missed, she ran a 406. Okay, that wasn't a just miss.
And then there was the whole issue with like Nike changing the time. They did a 1600, supposed to be a mile, so it was like 406.5, 406.9.
She had a brand new speed suit on, which was new technology.
I have no issues with.
I'm fine with that. Listen, but I'm just going through all the spikes. Apparently, weren't legal. And it was never going to be a legal run. So people saying that she has the fastest mile ever, it's still a 407. The record's still a 407.
And she still has the record from...
She does, because she's incredible. But I just think that we can say how great the event itself was, but we can be honest. The effort wasn't great. Yeah. We were supposed to get near 4 minutes. She didn't break 4
I never thought we would get near 4, though. I mean, I thought that was just, a hype to get the view. I thought she ran, 406. I mean, I can't imagine a female running 406. It's mind-boggling. But I loved all of it. I think in this sport, we need more of these one-offs where like people are trying to just do, I don't care if it counts as a world record or not, but people need to just try to do these crazy things because that'll bring people to watch sport. Like, can you imagine having like just like a mile, like Jakob, like 4 people, Jakob Kerhocker. I mean, now who knows you need like 1 million people because they're all ridiculous. But like, we need more of these, just like one-off, just let's go. And just like when Donovan Bailey and Michael Johnson ran 150, that was on NBC. It was all, Johnson pulled up, but that was a huge thing back. I was probably like 97, 98, but like,
I think we need feasible attempts. I think feasible attempts, like Kipchoge, even his first attempt at the 2 hours, he didn't get it, but he was like 2 hours point, right? He was close. Yeah. And then he got it the second time.
He got it.
We need to have, like, if you could sit there, give me Jakob, Kerr, Yared, Cole, let those 4, maybe Whiteman, anyone that is close to Hika Melgaruch's barrier, and no pacers. Let them actually race and say, go for the record.
Roger Bannister had pacers. It's a natural part of the sport.
There's 5 people on the track that are all right there, no pacers.
They're not going to pace each other.
Yes, they're trying to win. If we can scrounge up $10 million for the person,
I was going to say,
hell yeah. Here's 10 million. If you break the biggest, one of the most important records, and there's 5 of you right now that could do it. You're telling me they all won't go out in friggin' 3:39 pace? They absolutely would. Well, and that's what we need to do. And for me, that's a feasible attempt.
Yeah. And I think it's great for bringing in the non-track fans into the event.
Mm-hmm. My thing is with Faith's event, the only thing I fear is you brought the non-track fans in, right? Because it was big,
but she didn't.
And then in perfect conditions, with pacers blocking wind, Grant Fisher yelling at her the whole time, and some people coming up. She ran 406. If she ran 403, 402, big difference, right? Maybe she gets it the next attempt. But I just think we need to get something where the attempts are more feasible. I like Faith Kipyegon. She's a monster. She deserves all the flowers that she gets. We could be honest, though. This was a failed attempt outside of the pomp and circumstance.
Do you
This was
have an idea off the top of your head of what event, like an event where we're close? Like I think it has to be a round number, like an even number. Like
Yeah.
it couldn't be like a 405 attempt because like no one really knows
Right.
what 405
140
means.
in the 800.
140.
Break
Okay.
140 in the 800, and we have a few guys
some
that
guys
I
who can
could
do it.
think.
The
We
Canadian
probably
Marco Arap.
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 We have Winyani, who's very
Winyani.
close.
Yeah.
We have a few Americans that could throw in there and stuff. And yeah, if you can get a 140 attempt, now you're not paying those guys $10 million because nobody cares about the 8. So it's a very difficult thing, right? Because the mile's a money race, the hundred's a money race.
Yeah, but you can't have a one-off in the 100 because those guys race each other all the time anyway. So like it's not anything new. Like it has to be time-based.
Yeah, I think the 140 could be there, and instead of you dangle $2 million in front of those guys, they're going to go for one.
I like 340 men's mile, 340.
340 is a round number
because people know the actual mile. That's what I'm saying. Like it.
Yeah,
it can't be like, like you'd love to see Sid 400 hurdles, but like most people don't know what is a good time in the 400 hurdles. Everyone knows mile.
I even struggle with that. It's not like now I'm writing more about her and Femke, so I can. And Savannah Sutherland. Who,
oh yeah,
oh my God!
I'm starting to get a reference point now, but like until recently, I don't know I know what a good 400 time is. So I can
now they're throwing in 300 hurdles too for you, just to screw everyone up.
I don't even know what a good 300 time is.
Well, I mean, the again, if you're looking at the 400, what's you call what's the 400 record right now? It's what's the men's 400?
Van Niekerk 42. Oh yeah, no, it's Van Niekerk. It's low 43s.
Low 43s. So there you go. See if we can get a group of guys to break 43.
Yeah, no, I mean, like things like that are cool, but but it has to be an event. But I was a big fan of it. Like it was cool to like see like something in track that was just a one-off. Like the crowd isn't there staying for a 4-hour track meet. It's one event. Let's go. It keeps people. It's quick. It's fast. Keeps people involved, intrigued. Like you're not saying, oh, wait for a Faith to run the mile after 3 more hours of a track meet. People won't want to watch it. But if you do it right there front center, that's why that and the Michael Johnson Don Bailey thing were cool. Like let's have like a pole vault where you put the bar at 21 feet and say, let's go. Let's just have.
That's what I was thinking. Mondo Duplantis, he breaks the world record like every 2 weeks.
He's so smart
because of money.
But he doesn't. He could jump higher. He just doesn't because he wants all the bonuses.
And listen, I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. But let's set something up so he can get all his bonuses on the same day. Like if you break it 20 times, you get 20 bonuses on that day. It's just him. Going for a world record.
So here's what we do. You do it in a meet where you have men and women compete, so it can't count as a world record. Yeah. And then he could still get all of his little things.
Just show us what you can do. Like how high can you go?
Real quick. I'm not going to read the comment because we don't curse on this show, but
this guy,
Alpha Zero, I'm a fan of you right now.
I don't know what
these bleeping guys don't run anything else than McDrive in on a McDonald's. I appreciate you. So real quick, he asked, what do we run? In our past lives, we were runners. I was a collegiate 800, 400 meter runner in high school. Dave was, more mile, right?
More steeple, some
steeple
5.
and stuff. He ran in college as well. We weren't amazing. We were middling, decent in our county conference state, but outside of that, kind of injury ridden. But we were runners. We are coaches. Dave's a coach. I used to coach. So we have a little bit of knowledge. And Alpha, if you watched 146 of our other episodes, we've talked to some of the best people in track and field and some of the coolest people. And now we have another one of the coolest people in track and field on our show. So that's a little bit of our credentials. We don't have much, but we got something. But yeah, no, it's figuring out a way to do it is a good way. But I just, I guess me being the negative Nancy, everyone is flowering up what Faith did.
I thought it was great.
The pomp and circumstance was great. I think we can admit the effort was not. 406 is not what we were expecting.
I didn't think she was going to run sub 4, so I was not disappointed. I mean, she ran a second. She dropped the world record by a second. That's fast. That's good running. With
shoes that potentially were illegal, speed suit, every single pacer on the planet. That her 407 was more impressive than her 406.
Well,
her 407 is much more impressive.
Well, because 407 was run in a race with all women, and she just took it out by herself and just ran. toe to toe and just
So
dominate.
we can go around in circles, but I just definitely want to get your opinion on that, Daniel. And I mean, that's me being something. That's the kind of person that, in terms of media, I would like to see. Someone who's not afraid to a little bit push back, and when something goes on, just be like, where everyone's like, "Oh, that was amazing." To be the one person that's like, "Hey, y'all, wasn't that great?" I'm that type of person. Like
Yeah.
for me, when Grand Slam was
But then nobody's
terrible in
going to talk to you
Jamaica,
then.
good. Now I want to talk to them. Like that's the thing. I don't want to talk to people who are rose colored. I'll talk to people who are real about things. Like when Grand Slam Jamaica had an awful showing and was terrible in between like the meets, I was not afraid to call it out. They got better at
Yeah.
Miami, better in Pennsylvania, and then they friggin' canceled LA. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I feel like we just need to not be afraid to do it in the right way, right? Call them out in the right way. But I feel like there's just such a fear of calling out because you want to lose access. Like, screw that. I don't care about access.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
talk
something
to
I
me.
thought about too. Like, there's on the jump side a lot of things I don't agree with that World Athletics has been, the things that are unpopular with 99.9999% of athletes, but they're still going ahead, like changing
They
the
don't
takeoff
care.
boards.
It-
They don't
well,
care. Def-
Oh, that board thing.
Here's
Oh
a
my
question I want to
God.
ask you as a jumper. What do you think about the whole jump from anywhere in a long jump board?
Hate
I
it.
think it's the most
Absolutely hate it.
part of the skill. I mean, again, I'm not a jumper, is to be able to get your approach so that you can nail the border time. That's like half of the actual skill of the event.
As someone who's faulted like 17 out of 18 jumps this outdoor season, I would not want to see the jump from anywhere. And
It's
I think what you're saying is true of like 99% of jumpers at least.
So
I don't even understand why that's a thing. That like
is there the
Yeah.
fear of losing access to maybe potentially a big World Athletic sponsored meet, right? Is there a fear of you trying to get credentialed and it's like, no, you're the oval update guy that's calling us out for our changes, right? Like,
Yeah.
especially as a smaller platform, is there that, or are you kind of going to be like, screw it, I'm going to be who I am? And honestly, Daniel, if anything like that ever happens, we will. I at least will. I know Dave will. Dave does it too. Will happily be on your side to call out World Athletics and everyone else if
yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
credentialing you for anything like that. So I know it's a tough line to walk in terms of I want the access to these athletes, to these things and everything. But at
Yeah.
the same time, like if I have a problem, like like how are
That
you
is
on that?
something I was starting to think about. I was starting to think of like, yeah, but like it's only a problem, I guess, if World Athletics is the one that's putting on the meet, which is going to be the bigger meets that like World Championships that you want to get into.
Yeah.
I guess the main thing is like I have no problem being critical, and like definitely if they went ahead and made like those changes to the jumping board, you'd be getting a pretty negative slanted article or whatever other decisions they decide to make. But it has to be fair. Like if I'm
Yeah.
going to come at them with
100%.
everything, I have to fact check
100%.
everything and
Yeah.
Unless
get
it's
their
your opinion piece. Screw that. In the editorial, write an editorial piece. You just have a ham sandwich with that one.
Fair enough. But still make it not like I'm not going to make up some numbers that don't
I know, yeah.
but also like reaching out and giving them the opportunity to defend themselves.
Yes.
And like like let's hear their side at the very least. Like last year at the Canadian Nationals, it was the worst track meet I've been to in my entire life.
That's sad.
Any level.
National
Like I'm
meet.
talking local level, regional level.
Really?
I'm from a small place. Our national championship, I could spend another hour talking to you about like all the problems that came up. And then I got probably about 20, 30 athletes, to write their complaints. And I made a big letter and I sent it to the executives at Athletics Canada.
Yeah.
Of like the 8 executives that I messaged, one of them emailed me back and it was boilerplate.
And you know what? It pisses you off too, because like as the athletes, you're trying to basically kowtow to the federation to make sure that you qualify and that you're
Sure.
in and everything's
Exactly.
good. And then it's their job with, I'm pretty sure the Canadian Athletics League is in port, just like USATF is in port, right? They're supposed to put on a international level meet for your nationals. It
Sure.
should be
And
as good
Olympic
as any
trials.
Diamond League, as any Olympic, like it should be that level. And it just sucks when that hurts the athletes. That doesn't give them every opportunity to put together a potential, because especially with the way the world rankings work now, just because you're top 3 in your national meet doesn't mean you make it. You still
Yeah.
have to get that world ranking up. So that grinds my gears. That especially with Canada. Like Canada's, very you're not a poor
Yeah,
nation. You're a nation that should be able to do this.
there's some countries I've been to that are notoriously disorganized, in general,
Mhm.
and even they had put on better meets. Like, it was ridiculous.
So
I
disappointing.
had some of the athletes, they went so far to say they'll never compete in Canada again.
That sucks, and that sucks too. And it's,
But
but that's good.
I didn't have a platform at the time. I even reached out to, like, we have Canadian Running Magazine and a few other sources, and I know they have very small staff. Like, they're very limited in what they can cover, and they said they were very empathetic, but they also probably don't want to piss off Athletics Canada and lose access, like you're saying.
Yeah,
So
Which
to me,
I think
if it happens this year, I have no problem ripping them apart, because the worst thing that could happen is I lose access to our nationals. Guess what? I can still go as a fan and write articles. I just can't take
Sure.
photos.
you just don't have media credentials and stuff like that. But you know what though? It's like,
Message to the athletes on Instagram anyway.
I
Yeah.
think we need that fearlessness in track and field more, because I know Jonathan Galt writes whatever the hell he wants on Let's Run. Like, Jonathan's pretty fearless in terms of what he says, and it definitely comes with the cachet because Jonathan's been writing for a while.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is that nervousness at times, and I'm not knocking what Chavez does at Citius Mag, but obviously Citius Mag is gaining more and more and more access to a
Yeah.
lot of these bigger meets, and from a business standpoint, you don't want to lose that access. That's where you're getting your money and your revenue, and you're trying to do new things. But man, we need to have those people who are, willing to say sometimes the tough things. And I feel like writers have a different way of doing it eloquently too, especially if you're a good writer, to put those things out there. So, obviously I'm going to support you, whatever the hell you do. I'm not going to be like, hey, Daniel's not writing my critical stance, ban him. Like, no, I don't care. But
like, I think so many of the athletes like reached out and said that they appreciate it. Like, it just feels good. Like, it feels like you're like champion. Like, you're lifting them up. Like,
you are. You're giving them
their
the voice.
federation's not supporting them. You're you're trying to be their voice.
Yeah, 100%. And I absolutely, I'm happy that you have that killer instinct. And I hope that if you ever want to say something critical and don't feel like writing it, you can send it to me. I'm happy. I don't need to be friends with anybody. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with being that guy.
One more thing I wanted to slide in there is 2023 and 2024, I did the photography at our university championships.
Mhm.
Last year I was here, so I was watching the live stream online. So it was on our national television, CBC, like national government channel.
Yeah.
It had the long jump. The camera for long jump was not even, like, it cut off the pit. So when the jumpers jumped, you couldn't see where they landed. And clearly it was just sitting there, and that was the live stream. So if I can get back to Canada in March, like, I'm gonna get a team of videographers together, and we're going to pick one event, and probably the long jump, because that's because that was the one I saw done so poorly, and do it perfect. I'm talking like multi-camera angles, like the way you would see it, like
get a few gimbals and stuff like that, so it's professional level
someone
stuff.
in there, getting in there with the athletes, like seeing the reactions, the face, like, tight in on the face, switching. I want to do one event, just one event, do it perfect, just to show how good it could be done.
That the fact that it can be an interesting thing. So, I want to jump into another thing, and this is a little bit of a black eye on the sport right now. Tyreek Hill, obviously, is not an elite level sprinter. 10-1-0 is great, but he's not running sub 10. Okay, if you're not sub 10 at this point in this,
he's also like
season,
33 years old or something like that. I mean, what he's doing is pretty impressive.
Don't care. If you're not running sub 10 at this point in the season, you're a non-factor, right? Like, that's where we are. The championships are right around the corner. I said if he runs 10 flat right near there, you put him in the USATFs just because. Fanfare. A 10-1 is a far cry from a 10 flat, right? But to go out and beat Josephus Lyles, who is a sub 20 200 meter runner, I think he's run sub 10 in the 100. Like, he's no slouch.
Close. No, he's good.
But to beat Noah Lyles' brother after Noah just backed out on you,
it was pretty.
It's
interesting.
Not a great look. So how do you feel about Tyreek Hill and Noah's beef? What Tyreek has been doing, because again, I give him credit. He's been taking track. It looks like he's taking track seriously for the moment.
Sure.
How do you feel about all this going on, Daniel?
I'll say that, over the last few years, I've been pretty critical of Noah Lyles, because he's kind of like, I think he's leaning into that. He's leaning into like the villain role.
I'm with you.
But I think he knows what he's doing, and
sure,
and it's bringing attention to the sport.
Yes, it is.
So he's not going to be Usain Bolt. He's not Usain Bolt. Like he's not like that level. Like I think he had the opposite. He's like everyone kind of loves him. He's the opposite. He's like the villain, but people tune in. And I think he said it himself. Like whether you like me or dislike me, I bet you watched something along those lines. So.
And I think what hurts him more is at this point we know he's not getting near any of Usain's records, right? If he was going to run, there was a moment when the 200 was a strength.
He ran 19.31 when he broke the American record. We're like, all right, he's close.
Yeah, okay, potential. We can maybe see him go 19.2 and challenge it, right? Like we were looking at that.
The 200 record, I do think is vulnerable. Like 1919 record, I think is pretty safe. Yeah,
958 is insane. But
was it 1919, 1918, some of that?
It's 1919 was the 200.
And it's a slightly negative wind. I think it's like negative 0.3.
So I think that also hurts him now, where people are seeing his performances aren't on the upswing right now, and there's runners that
he hasn't raced.
Him.
Like he's not. I think he's run one 400 and like 45 this whole season.
So what? So sorry we cut you off, but continue with Tyreek and your opinion on all that.
And I don't follow the NFL, so I didn't actually know who he was until this whole thing started.
Makes sense.
But he seems like he has a similar kind of personality, but they're both like kind of big personalities, and it's fun to watch. Like it's like something exciting to kind of like tune into. So if they race, I'll watch that race. Like I'm interested.
Absolutely.
I hope Noah Lyles wins, because the idea of someone coming in from another sport
that would be a catastrophe if he lost. It would be like it's kind of like everybody who's ever said NFL players just as fast, and every track person like me saying it's different. It's a different speed, that they're not on the same level. Like, they just beat the reigning Olympic champion in 100 years.
Yeah. I mean, and that's.
I still think Noah wins.
I think Noah would win, no problem. I really don't think it would be much for Noah.
If he's actually in shape, like he hasn't raced, so I don't.
Yeah, like maybe, I mean,
there could be an injury or something we don't know about.
Right? I mean, or maybe he pulled out because he's like, listen, I just went all out the past. There was was it like because of COVID? It was like Olympics, Worlds, and Olympics was like 4 straight years of just the
international level.
Because in the past, you would get that every other year where you wouldn't have the world champs. It's been every year, pretty much through. So it's been long. So I wonder if this is a year where he's just kind of taking a reset, or he's just really training hard. He's going to start running now. Because is he running on Saturday?
I didn't see if he's at Priest.
I don't think he is. So I mean, it's starting to get to the point now where like he's got to start racing.
He does. Point.
Yeah, I guess it's a late season, September World Championship.
It is long.
What you're saying, like he wants a refresh, so he doesn't want that 4 month time season, so condense it as much as possible.
Because if he does that, I mean, I always gave him credit because he would race. He would he would step on the line and he would race. That was the problem we had with like Sid, was that she would race 1 or 2 times every year. I hope he's not turning into that and he gets out there and actually starts racing so people can actually watch him and bring more fans to the sport.
I think the benefit is right now, Letzil Tebejo is also hurt. Letzil Tebejo is not out there running like a banshee. And he's the one that did beat him in the 200 and everything like that. The fact that,
he got Kenny now, though.
But
Kenny's looking good.
Kenny has never beaten him in a major race.
Yeah, but it's a different year, man.
It doesn't matter. But
you don't think Kenny thinks he could beat him? Of course
Kenny has thought he could beat him every single time, but he has proven every time he stepped on the track with Kenny, Michael Cherry, Shane Thompson,
Did I just read that Ari Knighton is in trouble again with some sort of substance or something like that?
I don't know. That would suck. Ari Knighton had so much promise. But I think that right now Noah Lyles doesn't think he has to prove anything on the track right now.
But
he's the 100-meter gold medalist. You know what I mean? He's not like he's an American record holder in 1931. Like he's done a lot for American sprinting.
But you got to prove yourself
in
this
picking
sport.
And choosing.
Every year you have to prove yourself in the sport.
I agree with you.
It's like having the belt in boxing.
Yes,
you can stay the champion, but there's nothing you can do but move down. You can stay the same, or you can.
I mean, look,
100%.
Look at Marcel Jacobs. Is he even he won the Olympics? Nobody cares anymore because he hasn't.
Marcel Jacobs only shows up for big races, though.
But he hasn't done anything since then.
He's quite
He
literally
ran.
what's that one golfer? The one Brooks Koepka. Brooks
Yeah.
Koepka doesn't do anything throughout the year, and then he just shows up to like a Masters and will just destroy it and set a course record, and he goes away again. Marcel Jacobs that same exact way. He'll sit there,
I,
he'll won like one race, qualify for Italian nationals. He'll get third in Italian nationals, and then he'll come out to a world event and be like, okay, I'll run a gold. Like
yeah,
he's
I
bizarre.
ran into him before he got famous. Like he was nobody. Like, even in Italy, like no one knew him other than track athletes.
Yeah.
So he was starting to get like noticed. He ran like 10:03 and then like a 10:01. I think that's when I saw him like doing a little photo shoot.
Yeah.
And then yeah, he obviously went on to win the gold medal and became like a superstar here, and everyone knows him. Um, but yeah, he ran a 10:44 in I think 10:44 in Finland last week, and he didn't look right. Like he didn't even finish the race, but he didn't like pull up. He looked like he just kind of just like this
Jogged it
sucks
through
and
like
just
shut it
yeah, he
down.
did. And then he was supposed to come back to Rome. There's the Rome Sprint Festival, and he was on all the marketing. You know, like it was like Marcel Jacobs comes to Rome, and then I was in the crowd, and they're like, Marcel Jacobs is not running today. I'm like, of course he's not running. He just ran 10:44
Right.
days ago in Finland. He's not going to embarrass himself like in front of the
Oh no, that's
But
tough.
then the boos started to come in. And
Listen, so real quick, the people running at the pre-classic this week, Kashane Thompson, obviously, wearing that 975, he's a monster. Akeem Blake, Christian Coleman. Christian Coleman he's still the world's best starter. Let's see, he has something to prove with that finish. Jeremiah Azu, Great Britain. Lachlan Kennedy of Australia. It's going to be interesting because one of our former guests, Aaron Spider Brown, is always all over Lachlan Kennedy, and I will give Aaron credit. He's been right about Lachlan in a lot of ways. We'll see if Lachlan, this is a good field. You're running next to Kashane. This is a good time to run hopefully a win legal sub 10. Zarnell Hughes, good runner from Great Britain. Beyando Walaza from South Africa. Brandon Hicklin, and Trayvon Brommel. Which I always love seeing Trayvon race. He'll be there. So that's the group that is running in the 100. So it's a good group for the pre-100.
The very first article I wrote for the Oval Update was a prediction for the 100-meter, and I had World Championships this year, and I picked Thomas.
So Thompson's running so well.
Oh, sorry, Thompson.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if
yeah.
He wins, I'll get some bragging rights. So I called it in May.
He's running so well. So quickly before we let you get out of here, because right now I know it's past 4:00 where you are. You probably do want to go get some shut eye. So Diamond League, number one, what's it like being there in Europe as the Diamond League is going on? Even if you're not at all the events, I'd imagine, like Dave said, there's track meets on there. I'd imagine that's got to be a big deal for those events in Europe, right? Number one. And number two, how have you felt this season has gone in terms of Diamond League with, the competition and things like that?
Yeah. I went to the Rome Diamond League, what was that, a couple of weeks ago, or maybe longer now. It's a fun atmosphere. I think the one here in Italy, they could still promote it better. I don't see a lot of ads around the city. Obviously, the big draw is Italian athletes, so they'll come to see the high jump. They'll come to see the 100-meter if those people are running. But unfortunately, John Marco was injured. He did jump, but he's not himself. He's coming off an injury. So I don't know. I think they could still market it better. I haven't been to the other ones. I was thinking about applying to, when I come back I'm going to Canada for our nationals. When I come back, trying to get credentials for a few of the other ones. I think overall
next
year you got to get credentials for Monaco, because Monaco is where people go to just run ridiculous times early.
It's just a beautiful place too, man. It's a beautiful track.
Yeah, I was thinking I don't think I can get to that one, but I was gonna. Actually, I think I missed the deadline. Go to they have a virtual mixed media zone where you can go in, you can ask questions. But
pretty cool.
From online. It saves on travel expenses.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. So what have you felt about the season itself? How much have you truly paid attention? Is it easier to pay attention while you're there to what's going on? I mean, you're juggling a lot, right? You're obviously paying attention to so much with the Oval Update, and, you're competing as well. So are you still trying to pay attention to Diamond League and the goings on?
Yeah, that's kind of like, when I sat down to make our editorial calendar, it's like, well, we're still trying to figure out what direction we're going in, but like kind of demographic we're targeting is, okay, we'll start at the top, the big meets, so the Diamond League, World Championships, and then we'll kind of trickle down and see which regional meets and we can focus on. So I have been focusing mostly on the Diamond League. It's been pretty good overall. One thing that I think I've said earlier is like, you can't focus on everything. It's like,
It's hard.
definitely, I feel like now I'm more rounded than ever because I've been writing about events that I don't know that much about. You kind of learn as like you see the same people coming up over and over again.
Mhm.
But it's still like there's so many storylines that you can't possibly follow everything.
So many.
Yes.
Yeah, like on the jump side, like I think the triple jump record could go down this year, especially
Which is crazy.
I mean,
at the Euro last year they had an elevated runway, and that elevated runway was a little bit juiced. You could tell.
That's
So if they
wild.
have one of those in Tokyo.
that is one of those world records that it's just been around since the 90s. I mean, Jonathan Edwards was, he was winning by 5 feet back then. It was absolutely
Crazy.
just unbelievable. And to think that someone else could jump 60 feet is mind boggling. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Let's hope so.
I think the women's one is safe because it's been broken recently.
Yeah.
The pole vault record is obviously going to get broken because it gets broken every 2 weeks or so. So
It's genius.
it's just a matter of how many more times this year will it get broken.
How many more centimeters? You know.
Oh my.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be one. It's only going to be 1 centimeter.
One
But like, how
centimeter
many
at a time,
times?
baby. Hey, do we know how much he gets paid every time he breaks the world record?
Isn't it like $10,000 or something like that? Or
I
is it
think
more?
it might be 100,000.
Is it 100?
I think it's Puma who pays
Dude,
him.
I would break it by like a quarter of an inch every meet then, if that was the case.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out recently. Like because I've always heard the rumor that there's a big payout for world records, but like where does the money come from? And I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think
it does come from whoever is your sponsor, possibly.
But I think there was something at one point through World Athletics, or someone had a fund donated, but
Could be.
I'll have to fact check that. But
Well,
definitely, I found it on the Puma website that they do.
See, but like
He earns $100,000 every time he breaks a pole vault world record.
see, but like that's the perfect event to do that because he can control so many variables.
Exactly.
Like shot put, like you can't say, all right, I'm going to throw a half inch further. You just throw it, but like he's at, like, you put the bar, and you could do that probably high jump, all the events where you have a bar. Like it'd be harder long jump or triple jump because you can't accurately say I'm going to jump.
I can't imagine going for a particular distance.
Like, oh no, I'm going to stop.
Stopping
Too
midair.
far. I broke the world record by too much. Damn it.
Making sure you perfect the toe tap. Like you just do a quick toe tap midair. That's my mark.
Or
back there.
You're like, I'm 1 foot past the world record. Just take your hand and just put it back about 9 inches.
Draw a line. So, what can the Diamond League do more to get these meets out to, like you said, the American audience obviously is massive. I don't know how much other audiences like the Chinese or Indian audiences, right? Those are 2 billion people, right? Between those, and China likes its track and field. I know they do.
Oh, yeah.
They usually have some game participants in big world meets all the time.
I know when I went to the World University Games in South Korea, like they had a lot of people turn up. I think also they do pay people to come. They do have like a paid to fill out the crowd. So it's hard to judge, but it was a full stadium.
It helps. It certainly helps. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. And Daniel, I love what you're doing over at the Oval Update. Like I said, just my lizard brain. I saw oval. I was like, hey, I do things in ovals too. Let's be friends. And I am very happy that I invited you on the show. I think that the Oval Update is going to be really successful because it's obvious you are a ridiculously hardworking guy. So if and when you eventually decide that I'm done competing and you're pouring everything into the Oval Update, I just want you to remember who gave you your first podcast interview while we are still sitting here scraping by just interviewing cool people.
You'll get a shout out for sure.
I love it. So
stay in touch.
Daniel, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It was just fun to hang out and talk track at 3 a.m.
Yes.
Listen, as we can test, dealing with this sport and trying to promote it, there's a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Just try to stay even keel. Like we've had many times where a guest canceled or something. There's nothing that you can do. You just can only do what you can do and just keep doing the best that you can do, but also live your life the way that you want to live. Like we both have lives and we just do what we can to help the sport that we just absolutely love, that is giving us so much. I have so many friends that I've met throughout the sport. Like this sport's given me so much. So it's just this little bit that you do and that we do. It's awesome. So just keep it up and just keep being positive and just don't let anyone tell you that you can't get whatever it is that.
Yeah, you guys too. Like when you invited me on, I went back and I listened to some of your episodes and your first episode as well. And like, I was like originally just gonna just have it on for a few minutes and kind of get the gist. And like, then I kept it on. I got, like I was like working, I think, and I think I went through like 3 episodes and like an hour.
So and those early ones were definitely rough because we didn't.
I think you guys you're good speakers and you have a good dynamic back and forth. So
thank you.
It's like, oh yeah, it's kind of like you feel like you're just talking to your friend about track.
Yeah, well,
that's the goal. Off that vibe. Yeah.
I used to coach Alex when he was in high school.
Yeah, I think I picked that up in the first episode, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, he was my coach. But yeah, like I said, you're gonna be successful, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future with the Oval Update. So quickly again, everyone, make sure you go right over to www.theovalupdate.com. This is the website right here, and I want everyone to make sure you go over there and have a look-see. And go over there and support, and maybe you'll find me writing some editorial stuff at some point over here because that's what I like to do.
Have your own section by the content right next to contact. It will be your section.
Talking in ovals on the Oval Update.
Yes. Yeah. So I also want to go ahead and I want to share this right here, the Oval Update Instagram page, which is the one that you said you guys are, you're really pushing for to get this going, and I think that's smart.
Instagram is the place to be now, man.
Yeah. So this is your content here.
It's awesome.
And I want to move over to YouTube. I think as I start to get more live event coverage, like World University Games, I'm going to try to set up some interviews with athletes at the games. So
perfect.
Starting to get that out there.
Yeah.
If you have one of our former guests, Emma Zawatsky, she goes whenever she's at a meet, she does like TikTok stuff, and she interviews like the biggest athletes. Yeah. Like she gets like, so if you ever see Emma Zawatsky there, who you could make sure you talk to her and she'll help you out. She'll do some TikToks for you. She'll hook you up.
The one thing I will say is that everybody that we've met in this sport has been so gracious and so welcoming. And, again, like, we haven't, we found out people who have won the Olympics, like it's just cool that the amount of people just want to talk about the sport because it's not talked about enough. So I have learned that every runner or athlete that we've had on has been just so nice and so gracious and just so appreciative that we're willing to talk to them and get their notoriety and get the sport out there more. So keep doing what
it's cool seeing how accessible people are. Like you see them race on the Olympics or on TV, and then like when I did the meet in Slovakia, like I had a lot of top 20 athletes in the world asking me for photos, and like they're the same as everyone else. They're like a little impatient, just want some photos.
That's like we had a John Anderson on like the week after he stopped doing Sports Center, like just before he was at the Olympics, and now he's calling Grand Slam. It's like this guy was like this guy was talking about. I was sitting in my living room for like an hour and a half, just like the nicest guy. Like he was not talking to us.
Last question for you, and it's one of the most important ones. When are we getting apparel? Because I want to buy a shirt.
I'm not sure. That's definitely something I've thought about, but we'll probably we'll grow up a little.
Same here.
Once we kind of have our editorial, kind of set, and we started to get more into YouTube with the live event interviews, then it'll come. So, but you might have to wait a while.
Okay. When that happens, I want to be able to wear it during the show.
You'll get one of our shirts when we get them too.
Yeah, for sure. I'll send both of you one for sure right away. Right in the beginning.
So once again, he's Daniel Yetman. He is the founder of the Oval Update, which I am incredibly confident will become one of the premier track and field news websites. He's a hard worker. Obviously, you hear the guy, like he's 4:30. He doesn't sleep. So
I feel like we all got lucky because we used the word oval. Like I'm surprised more people haven't used that because it's notorious for track and field.
When I looked at talking in ovals, not a single thing had it, and I'm like, okay, this is a pun on talking in circles. I'll take it.
I'll say this: register on every, even if you're not going to use all the socials, just like register them so you have the name.
We're everywhere. We are everywhere, and I actually had to when I was registering us on Twitch. There was none on Twitch, but it wasn't letting me register it as a username. So I got in contact with, it was Twitch or Kick, one of them. I got in contact, like quickly contacted him. I was expecting it like for weeks later. It's a bot or whatever. 10 minutes later, I get an email back and resolved it and I got it. So they were pretty cool about that. But yes, we will let you go. We
Yes,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
We are talking in ovals, everybody. We'll be back next week.
Thank you so much for having me on. Maybe I'll catch you guys on the East Coast if I'm around Boston
Definitely.
again next
If you
year.
do,
or
let us
New York
know.
area.
Let us know. Yep.
Alpha Zero, thank you very much for all your comments.
Yes.
I appreciate all the comments. You were entertaining.
Don't know the reference, but it was very entertaining.
It was awesome. And you'll find us next week wherever you can find the podcast, YouTube, X, what all of them. Please make sure like, share, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff.